Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Cheeky Geek Weekly. I'm your host, Joshua Irish, and welcome to the very first episode. Really, all I wanted to talk about today was kind of establish a baseline of what you can expect going forward from a show called Cheeky Geek Weekly. As you can probably tell, it happens on a weekly basis. I record on a Thursday nights, and I'm going to be putting these out on Friday mornings, so kind of a nice way to round out the week. Plus, it gives me a chance to catch up on all the news that happens through the week, and then kind of round out the week, so I can kind of chill out and enjoy my weekend and not have to worry about recording as soon as I get off work on a Friday, for example. So, what kind of things can you expect from Cheeky Geek Weekly? Well, I mean, pretty much everything. I mean, if you're a geek and you know what that means, then you probably have a good idea. It's going to be things like, video games, Spider-Man, Hadron Collider, Half-Life, Game Boy, chiptunes, Lord of the Rings, Loch Ness Monster, stuff like that. Originally, this was going to be more of a video-focused show, and at some point it may turn into that, but for right now, it made more sense for me to just kind of keep it an audio version and then kind of record it off to the side here for YouTube as well. What's up, YouTube? Good to have you here. So today, really what we're going to talk about is, the other thing that I'll say about, as far as expectations is this is not going to be like an hour and a half production. Whenever you come here, this is supposed to be like kind of like a bite-sized morsel to kind of round out your week. So at the most, episodes are going to be like 20 minutes tops is kind of what I'm shooting for, because, to go longer than that just seems like too much for me. And, I don't, your time's important to you, my time's important to me, want to be respectful of it, so you can expect about 20 minutes on average for each show that we do. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. I don't have a proper name for Geek News. Like, just calling it Geek News sounds really generic, so I'm just going to call it, like, Geek Bits or Nerdy Bits or something. I'm probably have, like, some cooler sound to announce this in a while. But, the first thing I want to talk about was just kind of like some of the things that happened this week, and there were just a few stories that I found to be kind of interesting, and maybe you will too. And that would be, first up, Gizmodo announced that Google made an announcement this week, said they do not plan to build apps for the Windows Phone 8. And, that's kind of a shame. I mean, granted, Google's a business, so, they're not going to pour resources into something, creating a product, there's not really a market for it. But, the reality is, on the flip side of that is the Windows, even though it's very slick, like I like the Metro UI, or I guess what you would call formerly the Metro UI, the tile interface. I know a few people who have Windows phones, they seem to like them quite a bit, but apparently they're just not getting that foothold in the marketplace that they need to for Google to justify creating apps for it. It still seems like kind of a jerk move, but then, there are also some other things going on between Microsoft and Google right now, and they're kind of exchanging blows, so we'll see what happens. But, unfortunately, if you're a Windows phone user, you're going to have to hold out for a little bit if it comes to any Google applications, so... I mean, for me, it's not a huge deal. I have an obvious bias. Like, anyone will tell you I'm like a huge Apple fan. But at the same time, like, I see merit to all three companies. Like, what Microsoft's trying to do with Windows 8 is admirable, but, I'm not really sure where they're going to go with it, or specifically, like, what the mobile space is going to look like. But as a gamer, like, I'm very excited to see what they come out with their mobile platform, to see how it's going to integrate with the 360. And that was another thing that was announced this week, is it looks like Major Nelson had announced on his blog he was really excited. He put a countdown timer to E3, so I'm assuming that if he's that excited this early, we're probably looking at a new Xbox as well. So that news kind of overshadowed the whole Google not making apps for Windows for me, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, really. The other thing that got reported this week that I was kind of pumped about was, and I didn't even know this, Destructoid reported that Persona 3, the Persona 3 movie has a date now, and I'm sorry I had that up and now I can't find it. One second, I apologize. The Persona 3 movie has been dated in Japan, which, that's exciting to me, because one of the first things that I did this year I was conned into buying a PlayStation Vita by a buddy of mine from work, and it's a great platform, really love playing, but one of the first things I did was pick up Persona 3 Portable in Sony's online store and download that, because I heard it was a really good game. And while I'm not at all like an aficionado of it or anything, I can say I definitely enjoy the way the gameplay works on that. So I know that a lot of people out there who also dig kind of like, that kind of classic turn-based RPG style, married with a very kind of a Sims-like, daily play out in a Japanese high school, are probably pretty pumped to find out that it looks like Japan is going to be getting the movie on... Hold on one second. Oh. Apparently the only thing they're saying right now is that it is sometime this year. That's where I thought they had an official date for it. But, still, even though, we don't have an exact date for it, I'm sure you're still pretty pumped to hear that it's going to be coming out this year. That's good news. I'm sure if anybody's going to be going to OhioCon here in Columbus, there's going to be some stuff floating around about that as well. What else happened this week? Let's see here. That's some other things written down. Oh, the first Walking Dead trailer. If anybody checked out the Geeks Podcast Facebook page this week, I did put up the Walking Dead trailer, and I felt kind of meh about it. And I think the thing that, kind of broke it for me, or made it kind of a letdown, was recently I started playing the Telltale Games Walking Dead game that came out on the 360 earlier this year, while working through the episodic content for it. And, it's a really fantastic game. I mean, the gameplay feels like, if you've ever played, like Heavy Rain, for example, or if you played, what was the name? It was Fahrenheit in Europe. The name eludes me. But if you've ever played one of those games where it's more like you're playing like a giant cutscene, it does have that kind of a feel to the gameplay, certainly. But the storytelling is fantastic. And for me, that's story-driven games are, something that I, just value tremendously. So, looking at this trailer for the new Walking Dead game that's coming out, Survival Instinct. For those that are unfamiliar, I should probably say, Survival Instinct is a forthcoming full retail game. It's not going to be episodic in nature. It's about $60. I think it's going to come out at $59.99, the standard. But it follows the story of Daryl and Merle before Atlanta, before the farm, and everything that we've seen in the show. And it's, going to tell kind of their story of, what happened to them prior to those events. Unfortunately, though, looking at the trailer, it's really bad, like shockingly so. I mean, the textures look really, really ugly on it. The pace of the game looks really weird. At first, it seemed like it was going to be a more fast-paced game, kind of similar to, Left 4 Dead, for example. But it looks like it's somewhere between, Left 4 Dead and, maybe Dead Island. It just looks kind of slow and clunky. Really disappointing, actually. So the graphics look kind of funky, the pace looks weird, and then they didn't really show there was no voice acting, despite the fact that we already know Norman Reedus is attached to the project. There was no voice acting, no real explanation of, what events were going to unfold in the story, and you just kind of get to see some, kind of lackluster melee combat, and that was about it, really. So I guess I was hoping that I would get have the ability to dissect this trailer and kind of go, scene by scene and go through, everything that we see in it, and, just point out really cool things that happen, kind of like I did with the Telltale Games one, but, was not the case, sadly. So if you're looking forward to, this awesome trailer, sorry to be such a letdown. Actually, wow, this is actually going a lot quicker than I anticipated, so, next time I will have to have more news ready. I didn't really think about how fast I would work through this, but classic flaw that I have whenever I get in front of the camera, in front of the mic, is I always talk too fast, so something I'm working on, you'll just have to bear with me. Oh, by the way, I sound a little crappy, and I apologize for that. I'm just coming off of a cold, but I didn't want to wait. I wanted to get something out the first week of January, so I apologize. You're just going to have to suffer through it with me. The last thing that I had to talk about was one of the segments that I want to do on a weekly basis is what I call the Geek of the Week, which sounds, also kind of cliche, maybe even a little bit hokey, but, the fact is there are a lot of really great and influential geeks out there that do, just amazing things, just, illustrators and programmers and writers and, other videographers, and so whenever I happen to come across somebody that I think is especially notable online, I just want to spend this part of the show just talking about somebody else to give them the play that they kind of deserve, and for me, this week, that was actually Jeremy and Mike of virtualshackles.com. I was completely unfamiliar with this webcomic, but it looks absolutely hilarious. And actually, if you want to see an example of their work, I'm going to put it up on the Geeks Podcast Facebook page a little bit after this goes live. I ran across this comic when I was searching for Puckman, and it was basically I was looking for some art or some wallpaper of the original name for Pac-Man, Puckman. We've all seen Scott Pilgrim. And when I was looking for it, I found this really just horrifying comic of Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man from Jeremy and Mike from Virtual Shackles, and it was just totally awesome. I'm probably going to order a print of it. So if you get a chance, go to virtualshackles.com and check it out. They are the Geek of the Week. So guys, thanks for doing something awesome. I appreciate it. I'll definitely be checking back into your site. And that's pretty much all we've got for the week. However, what we are going to do is, to end this on kind of a fun note, we are going to do a giveaway this week. And originally I was going to say, the frequency with which we were going to do giveaways, but I'm not really sure yet. So, for this week, what we are giving away is, if anybody's seen The Hobby, which I'm sure a lot of you have, then you all probably also know that Lego created a whole range of Hobbit toys, and so what we're doing is, if you saw the Riddles for the Ring one, it's the one that's got Gollum and Bilbo, where they're having the the riddle battle to figure out if he's going to get out alive or not. We're going to be giving that away for free. How you can win it is if you either share a Geeks Podcast story on Facebook, or if you start following us on Twitter. Basically, if you do anything that I can see to help promote Geeks Podcast and help me expand my audience beyond just my mom, who is probably listening to this. But Mom, if you're listening, I love you. Totally sweet of you to check in. If there's anything you can do to kind of share and promote the show, you get entered into the drawing. It's going to be like kind of a real name out of the hat deal. So that's what we're giving away this week is a free Lego set. So whoever the winner is, I'll contact you privately, and then you can just tell me where to ship it, and I will send you a free Lego set of The Hobbit. So good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning into the first episode. Sorry I'm not quite top of my game. Hopefully I will be completely better next week when I record episode 2. But thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/geekspodcast. If you're coming from iTunes, check out the YouTube page, youtube.com/geekspodcast, or just go to the website, geekspodcast.com. I imagine you're seeing a theme here. So thanks so much for tuning in. Everybody have an awesome weekend, and we'll see you next week. All right. Bye.